right, Doug, I appreciate it. I appreciate that, both of those. I want to keep on admitting people. So we had like 100 and I don't know, 10 people, 120 people signed up today. So I'm going to be looking over here to my right and letting people in as we go. So we're going to talk about Google Classroom today. And I know that a lot of you are not teachers. And I know that some of you are counselors, social workers. I know we have some PGIS coaches in here, and we'll take a little poll here in a minute and see if that works to give me some more feedback to see exactly who's in the room with me. But we're going to talk about a lot today that's in Google Classroom and how it ties together with Google Forms and Google Docs and making assignments. And those assignments could be for kids because you're in a curriculum position, or it could be because you're trying to get some kind of feedback with your kids because you want to learn more about them and check on their emotional well-being, their health, and see how things are going for them if you're in a counselor role or another role. So I want to mention a few things here, and I'm going to stop this right here and get out of it. And let me bring this over here. If you were with us during any of the NTI time that we had, you probably saw a lot of our sessions already. And I'm going to show you where that is, where all that is housed, where we have our resources. And this is at our Instructional Technology NTI site. And again, I'm Jerry Broyles. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Jerry Broyles. I'm a district technology resource teacher, and we have changed our name to Digital Learning Coach. So all of our resources that we did and all of our videos that we have, they're right here at this page. And you can get here by going to this link right here. It's bit.ly/FCPS-NTI. So if you can remember FCPS-NTI and know it's a bit.ly, then you're going to get there. Okay, so if you go here to teacher resources, you can go through the categories that we have, and we have a ton of different classroom videos that I put together. And mainly I've been doing that. Others have been working on other things. But if you have a classroom question, feel free to go ahead and contact me, and I'll try to help you out the best I can. And so all of these, so like part 1, part 2, part 3, and then part 4, I know that there's a lot of them, but they're only like 30 minutes each. So after today, if you want a little bit more instruction, go through those. Part 3 is really troubleshooting what you might find in Google Classroom. And when I see issues, I add more to that. Then part 4 gives you a side-by-side comparison of what your kids will see and what you will see as the teacher or as the administrator of Google Classroom, okay? So it's a side-by-side comparison, but lets you see what the kids are seeing so that when they say, you know what, I don't see a turn-in button, or I don't see the assignment, then you can kind of have an idea of what their screen looks like, even though you don't have a way to really get into their screen unless they share their password with you or something like that, okay? So that's where all this stuff is stored. And it's not just Google things. There's other tools on here. If you have EL students, ELL students, there is a slide deck on here and a presentation that shows you how, some tips for you to work with your ELL students. And also this great chart here. This is just a Google spreadsheet. And what you do here, you actually type in your information here, whatever you want to do with them. So if you're giving them a message like, hello, everyone, we're going to start with our math assignment, or hello, everyone, we're going to start talking about our small group session of dealing with divorced parents or wherever it may be. Then all of that is translated right here in different languages automatically for you. It's a great tool, really easy to use, and you can share this with your kids so they can see what you're saying in English and also in their native language, okay? And I think there's over 100 different languages you can choose from, so I'd be surprised that you come across one that the student isn't using at that time. So, all right, so that's that. Please go to that site if you're looking for resources, and a lot of us will be pointing to our teachers and staff to these resources as well, because there's a lot of good stuff here to keep you going and learning what you want to learn. All right, so let's get into Google Classroom a little bit here. So I'm going to take a poll first, and this is what I want to do. if you go to the chat, and if you're not sure where the chat is, you probably have to kind of like scroll to the bottom of your page, just move your cursor down, and there should be a Zoom bar that pops up, and it should say, one of those little things should say like mute, to mute your voice, to stop the video, security, you know, maybe you have that, maybe you don't. But there should be a chat feature, and a lot of you have already been in the chat already. Well, I'm going to put an address here in the chat, and I'm also going to put a page here. This is called menti.com. And Menti is just a real nice way to get some feedback from your participants, especially if you're using Zoom or distant learning. So I'm going to use this real quick. So I'm going to move it over here. And I want to take a little poll here. And here's my poll. It says, how many years have you worked in education? So what you will do is you'll go to this address right here, menti.com. Just open up a new tab. Don't get out of Zoom. Just open up a new tab. Go to menti.com and use this code right here, and it will ask you that question, and then you can participate. And I'm going to put that in the chat as well, just in case people want to copy and paste that address or something like that. Okay, so menti.com, and here's the code 322476. All right. So let's see if we get any takers on that and get some information here. Oh, here we go. We start popping in already. So I love this. This is an easy way to just give some information. Hopefully you can see that poll and see where we're going. It looks like we're pretty even so far. So Menti.com, it lets you choose 2 different questions for free, and then you can get an upgrade, you know, to have more questions and so forth. I just have 2 that I'm using for this presentation to try to give me a little bit of feedback of who I'm working with today. And I love that, baby, because 0 to 3 years, it's like, you know, you're kind of smiling, you're kind of getting into it, and then you're like, oh, what in the world happened? And then we have Usain Bolt. He's running because he's like, you know, 4 to 10 years, I got this. And then we have John. If y'all are a person of interest fan, there's John, and he's saying, I want you to start being more careful as you're 11 or more years. All right, so we'll keep on doing this for about 30 more seconds, give everybody a little time to get in there. And it looks like we have a lot of veteran teachers in here. And we have a lot of, gosh, we have a lot of new teachers as well. So that's great. All right, about 10 more seconds, and then we'll close this out and do one more poll here. All right, so just some easy math here. Looks like a fifth are 0 to 3 educators, then a fifth are about 4 to 10 years of experience for educators, and then about 3/5, somewhere along that line, have 11 or more years experience. Okay, awesome. Okay, I got one more poll for you. Let's see if we can do this. All right. And here we go. So use the same thing. Go to menti.com and use the code 322476. You all are so fast and you're amazing. You're already in it. So we have a lot of choices there: social worker, teacher, I think PGIS coach, administration, counselors, and other, and so forth. And I know that we have some people maybe from central office that may be in here as well. Okay. All right, so we have a lot of people in the other group. I'm wondering who those might be. If you want to tell me who you are or what job you're doing, if you're in the other category, you can go to the chat and just kind of tell me, yeah, okay, school psychologist. Yep, I should have put that in there. Okay, so we have mental health, college career and readiness coaches, school psychs rule. Okay, I get that. Yeah, school psychologist. Okay, awesome. That's great. Perfect. Okay. Frisky, okay. PBIS and behavior coaches. Speech. All right, cool. I am so glad that you are sharing things. I am not going to call anybody out during this session. I know how cold calls can be a little intimidating, so I'm not. So if y'all want to share things, feel free. That's awesome. Thanks for doing that. Okay, so that's where we are. Okay, so we have a lot of counselors. We have a whole lot of school psychologists in here that are working with us, a lot of social workers, just a few teachers, a PBS coach or two, and then we have some administrators or central staff in here as well. Okay, perfect, awesome. Okay, so that gives me a great idea of who I'm dealing with, and that will try to kind of sway how I'm presenting this today. So thanks so much for participating with that. And we'll go ahead and start and get into Google Classroom. All right, perfect. That worked out well. All right, so I'm going to take it that most of you don't have a whole lot of experience with Google Classroom. I did ask a friend of mine to let me see her class that she uses, and she works over at Henry Clay. Her name is Catherine Stevens, and she has worked with my two sons that have gone through the Academy at Henry Clay, and she keeps track of those students using Google Classroom, and she's done it for a couple of years now. Gosh, probably 4 or 5 because Harrison's been out for a while. So I'm going to show you that classroom as we get into this a little bit more, but I'm going to just kind of take it easy and show you some basics, and hopefully you'll pick up some things that will help you use this with your kiddos as we go through this. So first thing first, I know that you may not have double screens. I have 3 that I'm working with, so that's a huge advantage for me. But you may not have another screen to work on, and you're just looking at my pitiful face right here, and you're saying, oh my gosh, this is so bad. No, I'm kidding. So this will be recorded, but just kind of hang with me, and if you have questions, feel free to ask those, towards the end. I will try to cut this at about 10:15 and give us 15 minutes for asking questions and so forth. So here we go. So first thing that you probably do is you would make sure that you're logged into Google Drive, okay? And this will pick up. Don't think that I'm just starting real slow here because I keep on moving pretty quickly. And once you're doing that, make sure that you're under your Fayette County account, okay? You'll see your mugshot. You'll see Fayette County right here. And then you can go over here to the waffle, and you can go down to Classroom right here, okay? And this is probably where your kids will go to get to it because they like clicking on icons rather than just typing in addresses. So you can do it that way, or you can go right here, open up a new tab, and I'll go to classroom.google.com, okay? Now, we always want you to be using Chrome for Classroom, okay, always. If you're using Edge or Safari, Safari doesn't have so many problems, but Edge does have some problems sometimes. Sometimes there should be a button that shows, like maybe a submit button, or just odd things that really you wouldn't think would be a problem, but they turn out to be a problem. So Safari usually works okay, but definitely use Chrome if you're on a laptop. And if they're on a Chromebook, they don't have a choice. They have to use Chrome. So that's how that works. So I'm going to show you how your kids will get into this and how you can create a new one. So over here, by the way, these are all different cards. So I am as you know, I am a trainer, and I am involved in several classrooms. Some of them I'm a student in, okay, because one of the easiest way to learn how to do this is for you to be working with a teacher, another teacher or another counselor, and you create a dummy classroom of sorts, and you have each other be a student in that classroom. That's going to be a huge advantage, and that's how we learned it as well, because you can deploy all those assignments, but you really don't know what it looks like until you're on the other side of that as a student, seeing what it looks like and seeing how it's turned in, and that communication back and forth, okay? So right here, I have all these cards, but just a few of them I'm a teacher in. Some of them I co-teach in. You can co-teach with somebody else if you want to. So maybe it's a counselor in a middle school, and maybe it's the Frisky coordinator in the school. And maybe those two people can get together and have a classroom, okay? I would think that will work out pretty well. I don't know. Something to think about though. So I'm going to show you how the kids will get into your classroom that you've created and how you create classroom. Over here, there's this little plus symbol. And as a student, they only have one option. It's going to say join class. They don't have the opportunity to create a class. So they'll hit join class, and then you'll have a code that you share with them, and that class code, they'll just type it in right there. That's all you have to do. There is no roster building. There is no infinite campus log or something that you have to create, nothing like that. They just have to have that class code, okay? Now, as a teacher, you just go right here to the plus and create a class. And you put in the name, section, subject, so forth. And we'll do that in just a minute after I talk about Classroom a little bit more, okay? Really easy to do. So I'm going to take you into one of my classrooms that I've been using for a while and just kind of show you what that looks like. And then we'll escape to a different classroom just so you don't have all that stuff hanging around, okay? So here we go. All right, so here we go. This is just a classroom that I've created, and I've done a lot of work in it, and I kind of show you how that works. So basically, you have 4 different tabs up here, and you have the stream, and this is what the stream looks like, and I'll talk about it in a minute. And the stream is really kind of like Facebook. Everything that's current floats to the top, okay? Everything that's a little bit older sinks to the bottom, okay? Now, so in the stream, you can create a background here, and this is your theme that you can do. So you can select a theme, and it can be any of these generated themes that Google has generated for you. And they really look nice, okay? They have nice colors, they're easy to read, and most of the time I use these, okay? I really do like them. And here's why, because when you create your own picture, Google automatically darkens it. And so this GIF that's going here, it's a Star Wars GIF. I like Star Wars a little bit. I'm not one of those guys that will stand in line for 3 days to see a movie. I don't do that. But it darkens it automatically, so it's not so easy to see. And so if I show you another one that I created, let me show you one more. So like this one right here, this was nice and bright and a pretty blue color. But Google, once again, because of readability issues, they will darken it automatically for you. And there's nothing you can do to really change that, okay? Because they want this text right here to appear really easy for the kids to see, okay? So just think about that. So when you're in your classroom and you're selecting this, you can actually upload a photo, okay, of any photo that you want. And if you want to learn more about how to create this GIF right here that I did, or any animated GIF that you want, or to make it a little bit more personalized, just send me an email and I'll send you some information about how to make an animated GIF for your theme, okay? Now, down here, this is all of the assignments that we have here. And there's a lot of them, okay? It keeps going on and on. These are things that I've assigned through my class, and there's PDFs, there's Google Docs, there's videos that I've put in here, and all of these were actually created through the classwork, and they show up through your stream, okay? It gives you immediate feedback. It tells you how many have turned it in, how many you've graded, how many it has assigned, and they haven't turned it in, okay? So now this may look overwhelming. Don't let it be overwhelming, because all of this is so automatic and easy to follow, okay? Now, one thing that I do want to point out here is this. On the stream right here, you have a place where you can create an announcement, okay? It's really easy to do. And so I can type in something like this. I would love to meet with my, and we'll just call this my flower group, because I don't know what you call your groups that you have for your kids. So I love to meet with my flower group this Friday at 1:00 p.m. Okay. And then right here, for whatever groups you have, and maybe it's 7th grade, you know, group as a whole, maybe it's 8th grade, maybe they're different classes, but whatever it is, you can choose, this is where you can choose your different groups or your different classes that you have. So for me, all of these are like curriculum classes, so I can choose multiple ones. And instead of me typing this announcement out for all of those groups that I just chose, I can do it one time and it's going to appear in all those different Google Classrooms that I showed you. Okay. Now in this case, I just want it for this one class, so I'm just going to mark it like that. Now, and this is for teachers and also for you within your group if you want. Maybe you have some kids who you want to meet in your flower group, but maybe it's not all of the flower group. Okay. So what you can do is whatever kids are in this classroom, you can choose which ones are in your flower group that you want to meet with. So maybe it's these kids, and it's not all of them, but it's just some of them. Okay, so you can differentiate. Okay, so I know that may be a little confusing, but think of it this way. You're creating something that you only want these kids to see. So these are the only kids that will see it. Now, Josh, since I haven't selected his name down here, he won't see this announcement pop up on his stream. Okay, it's only the ones that I've selected. Hope that makes sense. Now down here, if I want to add, something from my Google Drive, maybe it's a picture that I want them to see. Maybe it's a questionnaire that I want them to fill out. Maybe it's just something I want them to read. Maybe it's a YouTube video that I want them to see. Okay, and maybe that is, let's see, how to manage your time in school. Okay, so something about managing their time. Okay, so we'll do a search for it. And of course, you're going to want to make sure that you go through this video in its entirety to make sure that everything's appropriate for your age level kids. So here's one, how to manage your time as a teenager. Oh my goodness, this is so important. So I'm just going to add that one. And then I can go ahead and post this. Okay. And now it's posted right here. All this is automatic. Now, if the kids, one of the things in the stream that's so important is that all the kids, when they see this, they will actually have a chance to comment on this as well. So if they have a question, I can go right here, and maybe I'm the child inside the classroom, maybe you sent this to me, and I may say something like, Mr. Broyles, I am having a hard time watching, or sorry, not watching, viewing the video. It is blocked, okay? And they make that, they click that little arrow, and there's the comment. Now, the real nice thing about this is that one of the reasons that if you allow students to communicate, and I know it takes some maturity, so you may not have students being able to do this in the beginning, but it may take some time, is that other kids can answer this question. It doesn't have to be you. It could be somebody else. So Mr. Broyles, I'm having a hard time video. Another kid can say, be sure to use Chrome as your browser. Browser, it is working for me. Okay, perfect. Okay, now it could also be you that's responding back, and maybe you have to look at the video and so forth. So now we have 2 class comments, and there they are. Okay, so that's the stream. That's where a lot of the kids will be seeing what you've written. I know that Ms. Stevens, she has used class comment a lot to just kind of communicate back and forth with her kiddos, and that works out great. So let's move on to classwork, and we'll see how all these tie together. Let's see, can you make your screen larger? That is as large as my screen can get. I don't know, maybe there's something on your end that maybe you need to maximize your side, Doug, or something. Doug is asking everybody to make my screen larger. So is Google Classroom FERPA compliant? Yes, it is, yes. And when they sign their AUP form, the kiddos do, then that is part of it. So it's all approved by Fayette County Public Schools to use, and we're all good. Okay. Now, having said that, make sure that your comments that you have that everybody is seeing is FERPA compliant. Okay. So here we go. All right. So let's go to classwork. All right. So here we go. Now, this is all of the assignments that I've made, and you can have categories here. Now, since I was using this as like a teacher, I used categories that made sense for a math classroom. These are topics, okay? So what you can do, you can go So let's say, you know, I did this as an elementary teacher because there's math, there's social studies, and there's homeroom time, there's science, there's language arts. To make those topics, AKA categories, you can go right here to create and go to topic. And you just create another topic that you want. So maybe the topic is, I don't know, NTI assignments or something. I can add that right there. And now I have right here NTI assignments. Now, you as a counselor or a social worker, you may want to use certain weeks. So maybe this is week 1, okay? And you have the date August 24th through whatever. Then you have week 2. Then you have week 3. Or maybe it's by 9 weeks or semesters. You can choose whatever topic that makes sense for you as in your profession, okay? This makes sense for teachers. It's going to make, you know, it's going to be different for you. A lot of teachers actually use week 1, week 2, week 3, so on, and that works for them, okay? So now let's go over here to create. Create is where you're going to spend a lot of your time if you're wanting the kids to do something. And I have a lot of hints for you to make it easier for you, okay? So we'll talk about those. Let me add a couple more people in here. Okay, good. So I'll show you what create is. So click on create here, and you have some choices. You have assignment, you have a quiz assignment, which is just a Google form that's turned into a quiz. And again, that is going to be if you're scoring it. Okay, now as a counselor, you're probably not going to score it. Okay, social worker, you're probably not going to score it. As a teacher, you would. So you probably won't be using that much. Question, this is just an easy on-the-fly question that you may want to use. And I'll show you how Catherine Stevens uses that in just a minute. Material is static material that the kids are using. It could be classroom rules. It could be, you know, behavior, maybe a document that shows you what kind of behavior they should have during a Zoom meeting. Maybe it's a field trip form, you know, whenever we get back to field trips that you could have here. If you're a teacher, maybe it's a syllabus, maybe it's classroom supply list, whatever it may be. Those are just static materials that everybody should see, and you can point anybody new into your group, say, hey, go over here and look at the rules. They're posted in the materials section. Or, hey, go over here and look at the syllabus. It's in the materials section, okay? Over here is reuse a post. And what that means is, I'll click on it just to show you what this looks like. You can select any class that you've had in the past. And if you want to reuse a post that you did, maybe from a class, maybe that you had last 9 weeks or last semester, then you can click inside that class and look at any of the assignments that you made, and you just make a copy of it really quickly. So I can click right here, you know, War of 1812, I can reuse it, and then I can make that into a new assignment for this class. It's that easy, okay? So if you've done this for a year, you're like, hey, I want to use, you know, that get to know you icebreaker questionnaire that I used last year. You just go to the previous classroom for last year, you find it, and you use it again. Okay, it's all saved digitally for you. All right, so let's go back here and let's create an assignment, just something easy to use, okay? So when I click on assignment, it's going to ask me for some titles, some instructions to add some documents here and so forth. And this is so easy to do. We're going to show you what it is right now. So first, you know what? I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to my Google Drive. Okay. And I'm just going to make something here, just a really quick Google Doc, and I'll just show you how easy it is to do that. So I'm going to go to New and go to Google Docs. And I'm going to call this Week 1 Icebreaker. Okay. And we're just going to do, you know, just give them a short assignment. Please answer the following questions. Number 1, what is your favorite subject? What did you like about school last year? that may be really hard for them because they weren't in school very long. And one more question. What sport or other interests do you have? Okay, just something really simple like that. Okay, I called it week 1 icebreaker. Everything is saved automatically. Again, if you're not used to Google Docs, we have a whole lot of videos on that I showed you that site, and you'll find information about that. So I'll bold that. Here we go. And I'll give them some space to respond. All right, here we go. Perfect. So I'm going to close that out. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to go back to my assignment. Title is Icebreaker for week 1. Okay, instructions. Complete the assignment. And complete sentences, because we love that. All right. Complete and complete. I probably would reword that if I cared more, but I don't at this point. So, okay, I go to add here. Now, when you're adding, that was stored in my Google Drive. So I'm going to go to Google Drive here. And the beauty of this is that anything that you've recently done will show up in recent. So here it is. Here's some other things. If you needed to upload that to your Google Drive, you could do that. If you wanted to find something else in your Google Drive that's not recent, you just follow any of your folders that you have. You can go to shared drives if it's something from a shared drive that you have or so forth. So let's go back to recent. Here it is. I'm just going to add it real quick and hit insert. Okay, now I can add multiple videos here, or I can add multiple assignments. I can put more links. I can add more files. I can keep on adding this as many times as I want. Now, I will tell you this. If you're adding a whole bunch of stuff, it's going to be easy for your kiddos to look over things. So you kind of have to weigh that. You know, if I add 5 things, will they remember to go back and look at all 5 of them? Okay, so that's kind of tough. But you may want to add a YouTube video. Again, if you add a file here, these are kind of static files. And what I mean by that is if you're adding like a Word document or a PowerPoint or something like that, we need to have this discussion. They're not going to be able to have a turn-in button. And what that means is they'll have a little button that shows on their end, and it's blue, and it says turn in. I think it's blue. It says turn in. So when they click on that, everything that they've done, it comes to you and it lets you know that they've turned it in. Okay. Now, if it's a PDF, well, they can't really write on a PDF. So you're not sure if they really read it or did what you wanted them to do with that. So my suggestion to you is go ahead, make sure that everything that you're doing is googly. Make it a Google Doc, so it has a turn-in button. Make it a Google spreadsheet. Make it a Google sheet, you know, it's a slide deck. Make all those Google so it's easier for you and for them. If you're using Word a lot, I love Word. I love PowerPoint. In my little group, I'm the king of Microsoft. They love me for that. They kind of make fun of me for that too, but that's beside the point. There's a time and place for that, but inside here, Google Classroom, it needs to be Google. Okay, that's going to make your life easier. Okay, so I'm just going to add a video here, just maybe a fun video. I don't know. We'll try to find one. So let's see. Just say duck. This is a funny video that I've seen before. Oh, just yell duck. Yep. Okay. So add. Okay, good. So now they have something to do. They have something to write on, and they have a video to watch to make them happy or happier. Okay. So here, now this is really key. If you're falling asleep, you got to look at this. Over here where it says students can view file, well, what that means right now, this is the default. It means they can only see the file. They can't do anything with it. What you'll want to do most of the time, 95% of the time, is make a copy for each student. Okay, and that means that every single student will have a copy of their very own that only they can see and you can see. That's a Google Doc for this icebreaker. Okay, nobody else can see it, just you and them. So it's private. Okay, Now, if they happen to share it out with somebody, well, then it's not private anymore, but at least they know who they shared it out with. So make a copy for each student. Okay, now let's go over here. This is, again, where you can choose different classes to see this. So if you have, you know, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade that you're working with, and you want to send it to all 3 of those, you know, groups of students, then that's great. They'll get an icebreaker. You know, they all see the same thing in their stream. Okay. Now, again, you can differentiate. If you only want certain students to see this, then you can choose who those students are. Okay. If you want all of them to see it, just go up here to where it says all students. Okay. Now, grade category, this is probably not going to be graded. And I really don't do a whole lot of this when I'm teaching teachers because usually you have to take that grade and get it in Infinite Campus anyway, and you have your quizzes and homework and categories figured out there. You don't have to have them figured out in Google Classroom. This is probably not going to be any points, but if you wanted it to make it 20 points for a participation grade or something like that, you know, if you're a classroom teacher, then you can change the points right here. I'm going to keep it ungraded. And a due date, you definitely want to give them a due date, I think, because that's going to keep them on track so they don't get behind. I think that's something that's pretty common with kiddos, is that they put things off at the end, and then you as a teacher, you don't know if they're caught up or not, or if they just haven't gotten to it. So you probably want to give them that due date and keep everything going, okay? If they miss it, then you can have a conversation with them or call them or whatever you need to do, call their parents. All right, topic. I'm going to create a new topic here, and I'm just going to call it mental health. Well, you know what? I'm going to call it well-being. Now remember, any topic that you created, they're going to see that as well. So even though we may want to call it mental health because we want to know how they're doing, we can just call it well-being or health in general or whatever. Okay. Now, rubric, I've done a video on rubric, and I probably won't go into that today, how to create that. It's pretty easy to do. This is more of if they're writing an essay, I guess, something that's a little bit longer than this icebreaker here, but, or maybe it's a project that you put together, you can create a rubric. But you can click on that rubric, and you can create one. And it's just like, you know, the 4, 3, 2, 1 that you want to do before. Like maybe this is their outline that they've created, or maybe it's grammar, maybe it's the body of the paragraph or body of the essay or whatever. So you put the criterion here. I'm going to show you one that I created because that's going to be a little bit easier. But then you can keep adding criterion and adding, you know, different point levels and so forth. So I'm going to get out of that one and show you the one I created. I don't need that, so discard. So here we go. So I'll go back to rubric, and I'm going to reuse a rubric that I created. And here's one for a speech. I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So here's background history, thesis statement. Mine was pretty, this is pretty, you know, high school level, I think, for me. Definitely not something we're into in elementary for the kiddos. But introduction, conclusion was a section, main points, organization, style, and so forth. So it's really easy to grade because when you're going through each of their essays, you can just click on each section. So like, imagine that they're distinguished, you just click on it, and then we get 5 points. Then organization, maybe as apprentice, you click on it, it's 3 points, and it adds it all up for you automatically. It's just click, 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 you know, and then you're done. It's really nice and easy once you have this established. Making the rubric first is kind of painful, but again, if it's pretty generic, then, you know, for essays, then you can keep on using the same one. Okay, I'm not going to use rubric here, so I'm going to get rid of that. Yep, delete. Okay. So now I'm ready to assign this. Now, if I'm working ahead, which many of you will, because I have a feeling we'll be back in school pretty early for the teacher side, August 10th is what I keep hearing. So you can make these ahead of time and go right here, and you can click on Save as Draft, okay? And what that does is you can save all of these as draft, a whole bunch of them, and then when you're ready to deploy it, you just go to it, and then you go to Assign or Schedule. Okay, so if I click on schedule, I can schedule when I want this to appear. This works really great if you have, if you're actually in school and you have it substitute the next day, you can have it deploy for the next day at 8 o'clock a.m. or whatever. Okay, so today is the 20th. I can have this deploy at, say, 7 o'clock tomorrow, and then I can schedule it. Okay. Now, alternately, I could have gone through here, and I could have clicked on assign. This has to have something here first. Okay. I could have clicked on assign, or I could discard it, or just, assigns it automatically, right then and there. So that's your other alternative. Okay. Your other choice. All right. So let's get out of that. Let's talk about a few more of these here. Quiz assignment, I just want to talk about that for my teachers that are on board here real quick. So quiz assignment is where you're going to take that Google form, and you've already created it, you've added the point values and so forth. And I'm going to run you through a couple of things here just so you don't make the mistakes that some others have. And I have too. So don't think that I know everything about this. First off, it's taken quite a while to learn some of this. So let's say this is just a math quiz real quick, and you add it and you find it in Google Drive, or you go right here and you create one. Okay. Now, when you're doing this, if you want Google Classroom to import those grades, I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. If you want them to import the grades, you have to go to your settings and make these choices. So again, this is not a Google Form session. You need to look at some of our recordings, or we'll have some more sessions, I'm sure, before school starts. So I'm sure you can enjoy some of those too. So you're going to go to settings. You're going to collect email addresses. You're going to restrict it to users. Okay. And then you're going to limit to one response. Okay. So if you have those three selected, that's going to ensure that your quiz grades will be imported into Google Classroom perfectly. Okay. You want that. So I'm just showing those again, collect email addresses. And this is good all the time, people. It just doesn't have to be for a quiz. You want to make sure it's the right student that you have logged in that's actually doing this. Okay. You want to restrict it to Fayette County Public Schools. Okay. That makes sure that it's only kids with our Fayette County addresses that can take the quiz. And you want to limit it to one response. Otherwise, you're telling them that they can take it as many times as they want. Now, there may be a place and time for that, but you'd really need to think about that choice before you do that, because, again, they can take it, and then they can take it again and again and again. I mean, how many times do you want them to take it? Maybe a couple, maybe for mastery learning, and that makes perfect sense. But just think about that. So here you go. Also, the other thing that you need to think about when we're doing distance learning with Google Forms, they can use the internet. I mean, it's wide open. If you think that, maybe they're only using their laptop or their Chromebook, well, they can still have a phone. They can have a different device to look up answers and to help them. So again, surveys are going to be great. Quizzes, not so great, especially. And I think you probably have heard stories about how the ACT has changed things, and how AP credit tests have changed this past year for the kids. So a lot of changes because they're at home taking it and not at school. Okay, now, so over here, if they were at school and you were there with them, physical setting, you may want to turn this on, and that makes it so they can only take this on a Chromebook, okay? And that's totally fine, okay? If they're in school sitting there in front of you. If they're at home, you don't want to do this, because number one, if they're not using a Chromebook, then they can't take your quiz. Yeah, yep. This is lock mode only on Chromebooks, but it also locks out any other device. Okay, so if they're using a laptop or a desktop, they wouldn't be able to take this quiz if they're at home. So we're going to leave that off. And you probably want to leave that off until you get back at school in a physical setting. Now, grade importing, I will leave that on. Okay. Now, and so that's kind of the gist of how you do this. And I want to take you out of this, and the other stuff over here, you can change that as at will and so forth. Oh, one last thing. If you add something else to this, so I have grade importing put on right here. It's on. If I add like a file, maybe it's a Google Drive file, and I'm like, okay, I want them to take that icebreaker that I just did, and I also want them to take this Google quiz that I'm doing. Well, if you do that, I want to show you what happens. Grade importing gets turned off. you can't import the grades if you have something else attached to your Google quiz. Okay, so one more time, grade importing turns off automatically. You can't turn it back on if you have something else attached to your quiz. So to make sure you have that correct, to rectify the situation, you just get rid of that icebreaker, and now you can turn it back on. Okay, I learned that in my many months of teaching this. So make sure that you only have one thing attached to this when you want it to do grade importing. Now let's look over at grades here. We may need to come back here at classwork, but in my grade section, this is just a spreadsheet. It's actually pretty easy to kind of get a rundown, and I have a whole lot of missing assignments because once again, I just do this for training, and I don't have real kids here. This is a real child, but she's not really in my classroom learning. And this is a real adult, but he's not in my classroom learning either. So when you have those that turned in automatically, all these grades in here will go automatically into your Google Classroom gradebook. Okay, they'll populate automatically. It's really easy. It's great. Saves you a lot of time. Okay. Now, the other thing here, and I just want to run through this real quickly, is you notice that things are in red are things that are missing. Things that are green are good to go. This has been graded. Okay. This one hasn't been grading. It's waited for me to be graded, but it's been turned in. And it also gives you some nice feedback. This was done late. This one over here was resubmitted. Okay, so we're not going to talk a whole lot about that today, but I do have those videos, and that will explain those if you want to go through those and learn more. I will tell you what the draft means, the done late, the resubmitted, how that looks. All that information are in those videos, okay? All right, so let's go back to classwork. Again, this is just the Google Classroom grades. These do not feed into Infinite Campus automatically, all right? A little point for Canvas. For teachers who are using Canvas, we do have a grade passback program, and using that helps get your grades from Canvas into Infinite Campus, okay? All right, no such thing in Google Classroom for us yet. We haven't decided to actually add that. It costs money, so. All right, let's go back to classwork here. All right, over here is questions. So we did assignment, quiz assignment, and now we did question. So question is just something that you can do really quickly on the fly. You can ask something like this. Would you rather meet, oh, let's see, let's start over. What time of day would you rather meet? Okay, and I'm gonna change that from short answer to multiple choice, okay? And instructions are optional. You really don't have to put anything in there. So option number one, I'm going to say morning. I'm going to say afternoon. And I'll put evening. And you may change that to morning, lunch, and afternoon, whatever makes sense for you. And then I can create this, okay? And over here, I can choose which classes get that, which students see this. If it's point values, again, this is probably going to be ungraded if you're a counselor or social worker. Due date, put that due date in there. We'll just put it in for tomorrow, that's fine. Topic, we'll choose well-being, okay? And then if you want the students to see what most students have chosen after they have actually added their choice, then they can see a classroom summary. If you want to hide this from the students, that's okay. Just uncheck it. That's all you have to do. All right, so then you can hit, now if I want to add something to this, like a link or something, you can do that. If I wanted to create a Google Doc or something, you know, to go along with this question, I could do that as well. There's so many options, you know, creativity is optimal here. You can do so many things with this, but this is just a simple question. So I can go over here and ask, okay? And now let's go back to the stream here. And so it says I posted a new question, and they're going to have that choice here. They'll just click on it and they'll answer it, and you'll see how many people have actually turned that in and so forth, okay? Actually turned in the question and answered it. Really easy to do. Now, as a teacher, you can use the same question, you know, just to give some kind of exit slip if you want. Maybe it's a multiple choice. Maybe you give them a math problem here. Maybe you ask them something about, what they just learned in their science lab, whatever it may be, and that's a question that they'll answer before they'll leave and go to the next class. Or if it's online, I know that looks different, but you get the idea. Okay. All right. Just simple on the fly. Catherine Stevens uses this to actually take attendance. Okay, and that way the kids can answer the question. It's just simple, are you here or are you or not? So if you are here, you click yes, and then you just turn it in, and then she has her attendance through Google Classroom for the day. Okay. All right, so let's go back here. Then material, let's go to material here. Really easy to do. So I'm just going to put, an algebra syllabus here. I know I'm all over the place with math and social work and all kinds of things. That's okay. Whatever it is that you want the kids to have, maybe it's a field trip form, maybe it's classroom rules, maybe it's a de-escalation strategy that you want to give them so they can read that when they get upset, whatever it may be. So I'll just say, just read through this. Okay, then I'll add it. So I'll go to Google Drive. And I'll just do a search on my Google Drive because I don't know exactly where it is. So I'll just go up here to algebra, syllabus. And there we go. Okay, and I have a PDF here, so I'll just add that PDF of it. Insert. Okay, and now what you may want to do is something like this. Just to ensure that the kids have read this, you can go right here to create and go to docs. And this just adds a doc directly to your assignment. All this is stored in Google Drive. It's okay. It's all saved for you automatically. I'm going to open it up. And I'm just going to have, call this syllabus confirmation. Oops, hold on a second. There we go. And I just want to ask them a simple question. This is going to be documentation for me that they have read this. And I'm going to say, have you read the algebra syllabus? Now, this may be something else that makes a lot more sense. Have you read the student code of conduct? Have you read the de-escalation strategies? Have you read about, the assignment that I want you to read about last night? And do you understand it? Whatever it may be. I'm going to spell things correctly today for you all. Still too many L's, Lordy. Okay. And then you can say something like date and time. Whatever you want for them so that you have a record for them actually doing it, okay? Again, if it's a PDF, you don't know that they've read it because there's no way to track that unless you have like a Google Doc or something that asks them, to give you some feedback on it, okay? So I'm gonna close that out. And this untitled document, it will update. It just takes a little bit of time to do that. So then I can go over here. Again, it's no topic, but this is math. So I can choose the topic there. And then all students, I want them to see that. So what they're going to do is they're going to read that, then they're going to open up the document and let's see, respond to the doc question. Make sure that's in there. Okay, then I can post it. All right, so we're good to go there. Now we can go back to the stream. And notice it's a material because it has that little bookmark there showing, that little ribbon. And there's the algebra PDF. And here's the syllabus confirmation that they have to open that up and confirm that they've actually done that. All right, let's go to the people tab. That was the classwork. Again, all of this shows up here. And all of this right here is stuff that you may want to organize. These are drafts that I have that I've made. If you want to get rid of something here because you don't want it anymore, or maybe it's something like, that really wasn't a great assignment, I want to change that. Just go to the 3 dots here and you can delete it, or you can go back and edit it and make it a better assignment. So on this one, I'm just going to delete it because that was just something I was showing you guys earlier. Okay, it's that easy. If you want to move things around, you just click on them and move them up and down and so forth. Really easy to sort. Okay, Just click and drag it wherever you want. Okay. All right. So let's go over to people here. Now, again, remember how your kids get in here in the first place? They go to Google Classroom and they click on the plus button and then they click join. Okay. So these are all the kids that have actually gone through here and done that. So these are the kids in my classroom. This is a teacher. Now, if you want to add other teachers or other social workers or counselors to your group, or maybe even maybe it's the PBIS coach that you're working with, whoever it may be, you go right here and go to add, and you can invite other people to this classroom. So I'm going to invite Kelly Fisher because we always bug each other by inviting each other and saying, why are you doing this for? So I'm going to invite her, and I just click right here to invite. And now on her end, she'll have to accept it, but now she can be part of this classroom. Now, once you've done that, she has the same magical powers as you do. She can grade things, she can communicate, she can remove kids, she can add kids. Whatever she needs to do, she can create assignments, all those things. Now for teachers, I think it's a great idea to add your special ed teachers. Your special ed teachers can modify assignments. They can help you grade assignments. They can have a check on what their kids are doing immediately without having to ask you for an update, because they can go right here in Google Classroom and see the update. Okay, it's really easy for them to monitor it when they're part of it. Okay, all right, so let's go through here. So now, some of the management of having kids in your classroom, they leave your classroom, they go somewhere else, or they don't make appropriate comments. We hadn't talked about that. Right now, I have let everybody in the class make a comment, okay? And by the way, these are dummy accounts that we use just for the trainers and so forth. So Tessa's actually my daughter. So let's say that she's left my class. You know, she's in another group. She's good with working with her anger management. She's now allowed to go to a different group that we're kind of working with her in a different way. So I'm going to take her out of my group. So what I do is I just go right here, click on her name, and I go to actions here, and I can go to remove. So that's how I remove her. It's that easy. Now, let's say that Tessa was over here in the stream. Okay, I know I'm going back and forth, and she made some comments, and they weren't the best comments. They were, marginal, and I had warned her last week about making comments like that, and here she is again making comments in the stream. Well, I can shut the stream down for the kids, or I can just shut it down for her. And so if I go to people here, I just click on her name, and then I can mute her. I'll show you what that looks like. So when I mute her, this is what it says. She can still submit her work, but she can't reply to classmates' work, and she can't comment or post. So then I can go mute. And so now she has this little symbol here. It's a little audio volume signal with like a Ghostbuster through it, a little slash through it. Now, let's say that, a couple months from now or a month or so, she's shown that she's really done a great job with turning in her work. She wants to be part of the group again, and you give her a second chance. You go right back here, click on her name, go to actions, and you can unmute her. And now she can comment back and forth with students. Okay, she can be a regular participating kiddo in our digital classroom. All right, now another thing that you may want to do is you may want to invite guardians. So inviting guardians gives parents their parents, grandparents, whoever they're living with that is taking care of them, then it gives them an email bi-weekly or weekly, depending on what they choose, on how or what's going on in the classroom. So if they're finishing their assignments, it tells them what the assignments are. It does not give them any inkling of any of the comments that are being made, any of the conversations that are going on, but it just tells them what the assignments are and whether they've been turned in, what the due dates are, and whether they're missing. And I'll show you an example of that in just a minute. But it's really easy to do. So if I go right here to invite guardians, I just type in their email address, and or I can copy and paste it from Infinite Campus, wherever it may be, whatever's easiest. So once I choose that, I choose me as the guardian, and What did I do there? Looks like I messed it up. Here we go. Let's try it again. Okay. Then I click on invite. And here we are. I'm invited. So that means that I'll get an email. Okay. Since I'm the guardian that I chose, that person will get an email and they will get a choice to get those email guardian updates or not. They can choose not to have them, but at least you have invited them and you have that documented right here to receive all that information. Now over here, it says email student and email guardians. That hasn't been working, so I'm not going to say that that will work, but you always have Outlook to go back to and actually email the kids from there. Go to your global address list and find that student's email, and you can email them from there. Okay. If I want to remove guardians, I can do that as well here too. Okay. All right. Now over at grades, we'd already talked about that a little bit. Easy things to do in grades. You can sort by last name here. You can sort by first name if you want. Once you are done with your grades and you want to get them into Infinite Campus, you can go right here to the cogwheel. Nope, not that one. Let's do that again. Always mess it up. Let's go here. You have to go inside a grade, actually one of the assignments that you made. So let's go inside, let's say this one right here. How about that? Okay, then hit the cogwheel. Okay, so go over here to cogwheel, and it gives you a choice to download all those grades. You can download just this set of grades, just for this assignment, or you can download all the grades that you have that are, we have probably like 15 different grades. I'm going to show you that and click on that right here. Okay, so I'm watching my time. It's 10:05. We're going to try to stop at about 10:15 and ask questions here. I know there's a lot going on here. So once I did that, it downloaded a CSV, which is an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, I'm going to click that open and show you what that looks like. All right, I'll show you a nice little feature here if you don't know it. I don't like how these size because it hides a lot of the text here. If you click the entire spreadsheet right here, there's a little spot right there to click. It highlights the entire spreadsheet. Then go in between two columns where it turns into those arrows with like a split between it, and just double click. And that resizes everything automatically for you. Yep, really love to do that. It's so easy. And now all my grades are in here, and I can put those in Infinite Campus and so forth. Now, one thing to think about is that these names may not line up exactly like it has in Infinite Campus. So you do want to make sure that once you have done that, all of the names, especially if they're hyphenated, and we have a lot of hyphenated names in the district, make sure that those names actually line up correctly inside from Google Classroom to Infinite Campus before you start, looking here, going to Infinite Campus and typing it in and back and forth. Okay, make sure you do that. That will help you a lot so those grades don't get mixed up. Okay, let's go back. I don't need to save that. Let's go back a little bit. And let's go over here to the cogwheel, because this is what our settings are, okay? We need to talk about that. So with the settings, you can change your classroom details that you put in here, the name of your class if you want. So if you've added a teacher, maybe it's test class for Mr. Broyles and Ms. Fisher, if we've added somebody else. Okay, down here, this is a classroom code that the kids will use. So if you're doing like a Zoom meeting, or if you do a Google Meet with them, then this is what you want to show on your screen so that they can see the code to join. If you're sending out a classroom email for all your kiddos, whatever it may be, or maybe it's through Infinite Campus that you're sending this out, then you can go right here and copy that code. But if it's real time inside like a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet, you can go to display and you can make it as big as you want. So there's, how they're going to get into this classroom. They'll use that code. That's how they'll join your classroom. And if you need to reset this, maybe some kids are getting into your class and you don't want them to anymore because you've got all 13 of your kids that you're working with, or all 28, whatever your, whatever situation is. You can go to reset right here, and you can also disable it. So reset will change the value here. So now it's a different code. You can also disable it so nobody else can join your classroom. All right, now in the stream, when we talked about kids not making appropriate comments, right now I have it set that students can post and comment. That's if they're mature and they're able to do that. It's huge. We want them to do that. We want them to collaborate and to communicate with each other. Okay, that's the best way that they'll learn. But if that's not working, you can say students can only comment, or you can make it that only teachers can post and comment. So if it's a growing period and they're not quite ready, you keep it there. And you can change this at any time that you want. Okay, so maybe 1 week you have it off, maybe 1 week you have it on. Okay, by the way, a really nice thing to think about is if they're doing research, they can post all of the research that they're doing inside the stream, or you can make that a Google Doc that they all have access to, or even a Google slide deck that they have access to, and they can post the research that they're doing on their slide deck. Okay, a couple of things to think about there. All right, now classwork on the stream. I've noticed that some people have chosen hide notifications. So if you do that, then your classwork stream looks really small. There's not much there at all. And then they're like, well, where's this assignment? Where's that? So be sure to check that if you're having trouble seeing things that you know that you've posted on the stream. The default setting is right here. So unless you change that for some reason. All right, Guardian summaries, I want to show you what that example is. So remember, we were at students and we invited the Guardian email. So here's what the email looks like. Let's see, where's that example at? There we go. Okay, this is what it looks like. It will give them a week for whatever Google Classroom week that they're working on. Here's the due dates and so forth. And it says missing work from last week. It tells the parents what's going on. And here's other due dates that are up and coming. And by the way, if you have this turned on, then if you invited Guardian emails, if you invited Guardians to your class to see this summary, then it automatically sends the summaries for any other Google Classroom that that student is in. So for my daughter, Tessa, if I have it turned on for her, she's going to receive notifications for any of her other teachers that use Google Classroom, and it will give her an update. So that's why you see other teachers and other subjects here. It's all one email, all put together. Now, if you don't want that on, you can always turn it off. So right here's the switch to do that, and then turn it back on. So if you don't want to, the parents to have an email summary from your class, then you can turn it off right here. Okay. All right. This is your Google Meet. We do have videos on how to use that. This is how, the code that they would use and so forth. There's good instruction on that. And Google Meet has changed a lot since NTI started this spring. It has gotten a lot better. We haven't used it yet, but we've seen the updates that are coming, and they give you more control to mute kids, to remove kids, and so forth if they need to be removed from your Meet. Maybe they're accidentally in the wrong Meet, or maybe they're trying to, cause a little chaos inside your Meet and they're not part of their group. You can move them and remove them, okay? So a lot of good things have come out of there. If you choose to go ahead and use that, that'd be great. Still, you can use Zoom if you want to, though. All right, and then grading. I don't do a whole lot of this because, once again, any of the grades that you have inside Google Classroom have to be imported into Infinite Campus. All right, I want to show you Catherine Stevens' class that she's created. Your changes are not been saved, so I'll discard my changes. Okay. So I'm going to go over here to my cards. And by the way, this is how you can get to your cards and your different classes and so forth. There's so much more to teach you inside Google Classroom. I just don't have time, but that's okay. This is good for beginners, and this will get you started. So let's go to classes, and let's look at Catherine Stevens. Okay, so this is her class that she uses with her seminar, her senior seminar group for her GT kids in the academy. And I'm going to scroll down here because things changed a whole lot after NTI started. So let me scroll down a little bit here. So she was having the kids work on SMART goals and so forth, and she was conferencing with them. And these are all assignments that, nope. Let's see, let's try that again. Let's go here. Let's go to classwork. So these are all assignments that she's made, her SMART goals right here. And let's go to A through K and just see what that assignment looks like here. There we go. Okay, so this is what one of her assignments looks like. These are goals that the kids are actually working on. And they fill this form out, they turn it back into her, but that's something that you can do. She's done a great job of organizing these, and these topics work for her. These are all of her topics right here. She does attendance checks. She started doing that after NTI. So let's look at one of the attendance checks here. And all they have to do is say that I'm here. They click on it, and then that gives her which students have actually present during that time for that week and which students have not responded. Okay, so she has all that documented right here. Okay, let's go back to the stream. I'm not going to show you people or grades or anything like that. That's all personal information. So let's go back down here. Now, after NTI started, she started doing some more, like here are her directions right here. And then she would give, class comments and so forth if she needed to. But all that information is just posted right here easily. And then she can give any assignment or attach any document that she wants here as well. So then she gets into NTI a little bit and she gives some longer responses on here. But again, she's mainly using the stream, just clicking right here to do most of her work, okay? Or things that she wants to work with the kids. Now, if she goes back to here to classwork, she can, again, create something. She can go to assignment. And like I've done before, if she wants certain kids to see something, she can make that assignment here and then choose which particular students she wants to see that assignment. Okay, so their streams, they probably don't look the same. Okay, they're not going to look the same for every kid in her group because she can make and differentiate assignments for just particular kids. Okay. So there's Catherine Stevens. She did a great job with hers. And I think it's about 10:15. It sure is. So I'm going to go over here to the chat. And if you want to unmute, I'll turn that on so you can unmute if you want. But if you have questions and so forth about this, you're more than welcome to ask any of those. And let's see, go back real quick. I'll go back to my classroom. All right, here we go. And okay. All right, so I'm going to turn that on so you can unmute if you want. Yep. And if you want to ask a question, feel free to. Hopefully, I will have the answer, and I can figure it out. And if I can't, I will email you something that will give you hopefully a good answer. But hopefully, I can answer most of those. So, and I can also go to the chat here and just read those off and kind of answer those as well. So we can start right here. So we have a question: can an assignment be edited after it's been submitted, or would you have to delete and start over? So that's a great question. My advice, if you have already, here's the thing, if you have already assigned it and kids have already worked on it and they've turned it in, then you probably don't want to go back and edit that assignment again. If you edit it, then those kids have already worked on it. They don't see the edits automatically, okay? They don't get a notification that that has been edited and they need to go back. So I would not edit those if they've already been assigned. Now, what you can do, if you go back here and like, let's look here where it says, this is just an example. See where it says 0 have turned it in? Okay, let's go here. That means nobody has turned it in yet. And I can go back here and then I can click on edit and I can change that. And that makes sense because none of my kids have turned it in. So that would be okay with me. Hopefully that's okay with you too. But down here where I have one child has turned it in already, I don't want to change that assignment because that kid will not see the revisions that I made. So I hope that makes sense. All right. Oh, we got some questions here. Okay. So Anisha says, I have an archive class from NTI from the spring. When I reactivate it, will my same students be enrolled, or will they have to be re-register? If you unarchive it, your kids will still be enrolled. If you want to use that class, you can unenroll them. That is pretty easy to do. You would just go to People, you would select All, and then go to Actions and Remove. Okay. But if you want to make just a brand new, now I will show you this. This is a good thing that I didn't think about. Let's go back here, go to classes. If you have a class that you want to say, you know what, I liked what I did last year, most of the stuff. And let's see, I'll mute somebody there. There we go. Had a little background noise. If you want to use your class over again, you can go right here and you can make a copy of it. Yep, you can make a copy of that class, and it will copy all of the things that you've done, all the assignments that you've made. It will take out the comments that you've made, and I think it will take out the student work, of course, too. But if you make a copy of it, then you can copy everything that you did last year, and you still have those assignments. They're all in draft form, and then you can go one by one and turn the draft to an assignment. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so you can copy these. Yep. So that's what I would do, I think. All right, Sharon, I'm sorry if you addressed this already, but how do we know that YouTube videos won't be blocked? Okay, Sharon, that's a great question. So I'm going to go to YouTube here, Sharon. And I'm going to do a little search for math. Let's see, math, add fractions, 3rd grade. Okay. So let's look at some of these. So let's say I find a video that I want. And remember, I'm still logged in here. This is my Fayette County account. And I can click on this. And I'm going to pause it.
Writing.
Yep. And down here. Okay, well, not for this one because maybe this whole channel. Oh, here it is. It says right here, video approved for Fayette County Schools. So you need to open the video to where it can play, okay? And then check here to see if it's approved for Fayette County Public Schools. Now, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna try to find one that's probably not approved. Okay, let's try to find another one. Let's just do something that's, I don't know. I know this one's not gonna be approved. Toyota Supra, not that I want one of those really bad. I wouldn't really want one of those. No, of course not. I'm just gonna pause it. Now, right down here, it says video not approved for Fayette County Schools. So what you would do is you would preview this video, and then you would go over here and click on the approve button, and that approves it for all students in Fayette County. Now, remember, just because it's approved for high school students doesn't mean that it's a good, appropriate video for our elementary littles to actually watch. So keep that in mind. But that's how you approve the videos, is clicking on that button. Okay. All right. Now, and Sharon, if there's other issues, where your kids are still saying it's still blocked, send that to your STC or fill out a ticket. We're still doing help desk tickets, and give them the link to the YouTube video and ask for it to be unblocked, and they can help you out. All right,
Jerry,
Lisa.
can I ask you a question about
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Okay, this
You're
is
live.
I am. I'm right here.
Okay.
So with speech, I was thinking about making some YouTube videos of myself, just how to pronounce certain speech sounds. So if I do my own little YouTube channel, I can approve that. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
I can get it approved?
Yes. You can approve channels. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And that's going to be a great way to do that, Sharon, because then everything will be easily accessed for the kids. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure thing. All right, Lisa, you said if students from other districts can use their homeschool Google account to join, does it have to be a FCPS Google account? Yes, Lisa, this is so important. I know that we do have other kids from other districts that are working inside our district with teachers and so forth, especially with like South Side and East Side and so forth. Those kids need to use their Fayette County accounts. You will run into problems if they're using their Woodford County or Jessamine County accounts. So make sure they're using their FCPS account. You will run into problems. They will run into problems. I worked with a teacher during NTI for a good hour and a half trying to figure out what was going on. And that was the problem, is that these kids had joined Google Classroom with their Woodford County account or their Jessamine County account, and they could not turn in assignments. They did not have things working well for them. It was painful. So, yeah.
Okay,
And
thanks.
it may be, Lisa. Oh, Lisa, yeah, go ahead.
No, thanks. You just answered that. I used Canvas last year, and that was the same problem. I'm at East Side,
Okay,
and so
yeah.
I was watching this to see if this might have been more user-friendly for all of my out-of-county kids, but it sounds like it's the same problem I had with Canvas.
It is the same problem. Yep. Sorry. But
Okay.
they have Fayette County accounts, right?
They do, but some of the outer counties only have their school-issued Chromebooks that are connected to their, like Woodford County especially.
Oh, I
And
got you.
so I ran into they didn't have the technology to be able to get onto Canvas
I
for
got you.
me
Yeah.
because their Woodford County credentials wouldn't let them.
Yeah. What's worse with this is it actually will let them in the classroom, but they are not seeing like other things that you're doing inside the classroom. They're just not seeing it. It just doesn't
Okay.
show up. So,
Okay, thanks.
yeah, sure thing. Okay. Let's see. Carolina Brock asked, where can I check how to do Google surveys for families? I'm not sure what you're asking there. So you can always do Google surveys for any families. Oh, I know what you're saying. Okay, I got you. Hold on. All right. Yep. Yeah. So if you're doing a Google form, and I just want to create a blank one here. Yeah. So if you want this to be able so that families can participate, you're going to go right here to settings, and you can still collect email addresses. And you can still do this, but you just want to turn this off right here where it says restrict to users. Okay. You're going to turn that off so that parents outside of our domain can use it. Yep. And I think that's the only thing you have to turn off. Now, as always, if you want to make it anonymous, then you would turn this off. Okay. So, if you want to give the parents some anonymity and make it anonymous feedback, then turn that off. Definitely turn all this off, and then you're going to get your feedback. Now, if you want to get some information from them, some follow-up information, what you can do is keep it anonymous, and then say, if you'd like me to reach out to you as one of your questions, then you can have them fill in their name and email address inside the form. If not, they could skip that question, something like that. So, all right. Yeah, thank you guys. All right. Rachel says, for confidentiality purposes, using Google Classroom in a counseling capacity, would I need to create a different classroom for each student with whom I work? Or is there a way to have them in the same class without being able to see who else is in the class? Rachel, that's a great question. I guess would they be able to know who's inside that group if they were at school? If they were at school, they would see who's inside that group. So if that passes muster, right there, then I think they could be in the same group inside a Google Classroom. Now, again, you may want to turn off commenting and posting completely for that group so that the kids don't see what other kids are posting or asking questions. Okay. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that's the right answer, but that's where I'm going with this.
Hi.
Yeah,
This is
Rachel, you're there.
Hi.
Okay. Hey.
Yeah, I think what I was, and there might be a better way to do it. I'll have to play around, but I was sort of imagining like a lot of my individual counseling cases, not my group counseling, but individual cases, a lot of them are working on similar skills.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking I could possibly have, like an anxiety class or a class based on different skill, and then invite students to it if that was what they were working on, just so that all the activities could be kind of in one place. But I didn't want them to be able to see the other people in the class. This is not really a group counseling setting. It's more of an individual. Does that make more sense?
It does. And I'm not sure the answer on that. And I don't want
Okay.
to put you in a position where I think I know the best answer for that.
Okay.
If anybody else knows the answer for that that's on this call, that would be great to hear from you. but I don't know their answer to that, and I understand the confidentiality part of that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Rachel. All right. Okay. All right. So I think we're actually through all of our questions. Okay. And a lot of people stuck around to hear those, so that was awesome too. So, hey guys, I know it's about 10:28 right now. It's about time for us to be done. I hope I gave you enough information to get you started in your Google Classroom. And again, the biggest takeaway from this, besides what I've shown you, is be sure to have somebody that you can work with inside, a coworker or a teacher or whoever it may be, that you can do a back and forth. One of you is the teacher or counselor of the classroom, the other is the student, and then have them create a classroom and you be the student, and work through some of these scenarios so that you can help your kids with any technical issues that they will come across. Again, reach out to your district, digital learning coaches, either me, Kelly, Paula, or Julie, and we can help you. All of us are trained on this, so we can help you with that. And again, you feel free to email me too. I'm glad to help out. So I wish you all a great year. I don't know how we're going to start. Fingers crossed they make the right decision. And I hope that all of you all are doing well and have enough to get you started for the year. Okay. Take care. This will be recorded. It will be posted somewhere on the SSPI website. I talked to Dee Dee 2 days ago, and so I'm going to record. This is being recorded, and we'll get it posted. Okay. All right. Take care. Thank you so much.